It's a city that's hosted all sorts of parties.
But it's never seen anything like this.
We're really excited, and we cannot wait to showcase Milwaukee to the world.
50,000 people are coming to town.
That's a great bump to the economy, obviously.
Those who aren't coming will be watching.
We have a chance to showcase Milwaukee.
History will be made.
We have an opportunity, all of us do, to help Milwaukee to shine.
And we're making sure you're ready.
This is Conventional Wisdom.
Welcome to this day 4 of Conventional Wisdom live from Fiserv Forum. We are so happy you are with us today. This is our big finale, as the big finale tonight is going to be happening right behind us.
This is a big show. We are booked from 2 to 3 with some fabulous guests. So why don't we get to guest number 1 right away? Caught him in the hallway the other day, chatted with him and said, would you mind coming on? Congressman Tom Tiffany of Minocqua. That's your home base, right?
It
Minocqua.
is.
You represent the 7th District. Have you looked at a map of Wisconsin congressional districts?
I have, yes.
It's huge. 40%, you say, of the landmass of Wisconsin is your jurisdiction.
8 congressional districts. Mine has 40% of the landmass. It's awesome. Small towns, small communities all over.
You probably like it that way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that mean you get the biggest office of all 8? No? Doesn't work that way, does it?
That is seniority.
Yeah, based on seniority.
Nothing changes.
Yeah.
I should also point out that for a few weeks each month, he is my congressman because I have a place up in St. Germain. We were talking about that. We'll talk about the North Woods in a second. You've been here every day. You are not a delegate, but you are sort of part of the unofficial host committee, being a Wisconsin congressman. Give us a grade on how this thing's going so far.
Oh, this is going to be in the A's. We got a little ways to go yet, but it's really good. And all you got to do is listen to the delegates here, and they're just talking about, we didn't know Milwaukee was so nice. And, the red carpet was laid out by Milwaukee, as well as the National Committee has done a really good job here. The new chairman of the committee, Michael Whatley, who was picked by President Trump, he wanted somebody like Whatley to run it, who was very successful in North Carolina. They've done a really good job of putting this on. But all the pieces came together, and Milwaukee and Wisconsin should be proud.
It's been running like clockwork. We've been amazed at the list of speakers, and they're sticking right to the times.
Yeah, the punctuality is not usually something that happens when it comes to politics, that's for sure. We've heard, just like you have, from delegate after delegate saying, I didn't realize Milwaukee was so nice. I didn't realize Lake Michigan was so big. I mean, we are so happy to have all of these tourists in town. We're hoping that it brings a little boost to the Milwaukee economy. Wisconsin as a whole would be nice. How do you think the show has been running? Because it has been almost like a rock concert every night, at least from our vantage point.
Yeah, it's really been a good show. They put it together well, and, political conventions, if they're done well, I mean, you're going to have a lot of you-rah-rah. But after, especially the incident last Saturday night, you can just feel the energy. Mm-hmm. And people, there's this focus amongst delegates that they are ready to go in November.
I think there's some really interesting speeches each night, and I want to get to a couple of them. But I guess I want to start with your pick. I have not talked to you since the J.D. Vance was selected. Your initial thoughts on that and your thoughts on it after his speech last night.
I thought there was a really good pool of candidates, and I think J.D. Vance is a good choice. So I think oftentimes presidents look at this as, how do we balance the ticket or whatever. That's not what President Trump did. He said, we're going to reinforce the ticket. We're going to reinforce my message of America first, because that's very much where J.D.
All
Vance
chips
comes
in on this message. Okay.
Yep.
And what about the speech last night?
Yeah, I thought you did a really good job. So, do people know J.D. Vance? No. Outside of Ohio, no. It's really interesting to find out, he has a wife, he has 3 children, and just his background, his childhood, powerful.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, you could just feel the emotion in here last night, and then calling out his mother and that whole little bit with the applause and the chanting of her name. I mean, that was a moment last night.
Yeah, it was terrific.
Nikki Haley really had a tough job. That was the speech. She was not originally expected to speak, nor was DeSantis, and they were both put on Tuesday night. What a fine line she had to walk, because she didn't want to totally eat her words. She had said some very harsh things about former President Trump, but she said to her delegates, hey, we're all in on this guy. How important was that speech?
I think you've seen from a few people, and I think maybe Nikki Haley was in the same boat, that especially after Saturday night, how do you withhold your support as a Republican for the nominee, and especially when he almost got his head blown off? And I just think that she was it's something that I think she felt she needed to do.
How much pressure was on her? Do you know from the Trump team?
I don't know. But I think at the end, she didn't need any pressure at the end. I think it was just, this is something I need to do. I mean, we see it in politics all the time. People kick sand at each other, including within the parties. One day a person may be your foe. The next day they may be your best friend. And it's the way politics works sometimes.
And I don't know what your take is, but it didn't seem as though she was pushed into saying anything that she said. She seemed very authentic and genuine with everything that she spoke. And she spoke truth to it, that I don't necessarily agree. You don't have to necessarily agree, but this is the support and this is where we need it to be. Do you agree with that?
I think that's accurate, yes.
You've been a long time. You're not new to the Trump train. You've been on board pretty much from the beginning, right? You've declared that. If he said to you, Congressman, give me some tips for tonight and what I need to say, what are you saying? Make sure you get this in, sir.
So I don't give Donald Trump advice on speeches because he decides what he is going to say. But I think it's important to talk about the last 3.5 years and America's going in the wrong direction. Whether it's the border, whether it's inflation, our weakness abroad. Weakness is going to lead to war at some point. I think you have to lay it out as the candidate that here's the failings that we're seeing from the other side, and here's the antidote to it. But it's very important to close on a positive. We can secure the border. We can stop this ruinous spending in Washington, D.C. to rein in inflation. We can be energy independent once again. And my gosh, we can have a strong America, peace through strength once again.
Do you expect there to be, kind of the temperature raised with his speech in terms of like that tension, or do you think that's kind of changing because of everything that happened last Saturday?
I'm guessing that's probably going to change. I think you're going to see a different tone tonight.
Where will you be? Where have you been watching these speeches? Because you're not a delegate, so you're not on the floor. Are you just bouncing around from suite to suite here, or where are you?
Yeah, so we've been touring this fine facility. I hadn't been in Fiserv before.
Oh, and, you had not been in Fiserv?
I had not been in Fiserv before.
It looks very different than how it typically looks. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, for sure. But I plan on spending some time on the floor tonight with the delegates. I want to get down to the Wisconsin delegation. I haven't done that yet, and I really want to get down on the floor. I've seen it from up above here. I want to see it from the floor.
Great. While they do a little rehearsal here, we're going to take a very quick break. You are watching Conventional Wisdom. We're live at the RNC. How about that? They let us do live TV, Grady.
Oh, the sound checks are awesome, too. We'll be right back.
That's the best part, right?
Welcome back to Conventional Wisdom. You are looking live inside Fiserv Forum right now where the sound checks are taking place. We saw Kid Rock on stage a little bit earlier. That's going to be quite the show tonight. And right there we were just listening to an opera singer take the stage. Just fantastic so far this show has been. And of course today is where it all comes to an end with former President Donald Trump taking the stage tonight to accept the GOP's nomination. We have an awesome lineup today, and kicking things off, we have Congressman Tiffany of Northern Wisconsin here with us. So happy to have you along. So happy to kind of just get your perspective. I think it's wild you've never been to Fiserv Forum yet.
Yeah, I don't know why. I guess I'm too far away.
It is a hike for you.
It's a little bit of a hike. But.
You represent an area in northern Wisconsin that goes from Necedah to the south up to Bayfield and then literally side to side, right?
Almost.
You go almost from the Mississippi back over. That is an area that Democrat David Obey held a tight grip on for years and years and years.
40 years.
Then he decided not to run. Sean Duffy took that over, so it became a Republican area. It's pretty solidly red now, right? I've looked at the margins of your victories. You're not sweating it on election night.
Yeah, so it is really a classic Trump district that turned from Democrat. It's one of those rural districts that turned to Trump in 2016, and they have not looked back. Northeastern Minnesota is like that. The Upper Peninsula is like that. And so it's one of those districts that really changed where I think their sense was, I don't know that they fell so much in love with Republicans. They just like, the Democrat Party has left me and I want to go someplace else.
What are your constituents telling you this time around, now that Donald Trump is, of course, back on the ticket? I'm sure you haven't had a chance to talk with any of them about J.D. Vance and the VP pick here. Yeah. But just in terms of where the country is going, the change they would like to see, the difference from what they would like to see that's what happens over the last 3.5 years.
People are alarmed. They're alarmed in regards to the border. Every state's a border state. You see the fentanyl poisonings that are going on. I mean, we've had two different incidents now in my district where illegal aliens have killed people in just the last number of months here in northern Wisconsin. So you see that kind of stuff, the inflation that is, eating up people's paychecks, their Social Security checks. People are very concerned about the economy, and then there's also some of the cultural issues. Like the Biden administration wanting to allow men to be able to go into girls' bathrooms. They're like, no, that's not the stuff I want coming out of Washington, D.C.
When did it all turn? Why did it go solidly blue to solidly red? You mentioned they were disenfranchised, but what alternatives is the Republican Party giving? So you talk about inflation. What's the Republican plan to curb inflation then? I mean, I don't like paying any more than anyone else who goes to the grocery store. So what are you going to do about it?
What drove this inflation for the first time in 40 years that we've really seen high inflation is the spending out in Washington, D.C. $34 trillion in debt. Ultimately, that bill's got to be paid. It's no different than the family checkbook. And so there's consequences to that. And what has happened is the dollar has become worth less. Interest rates have went up as a result of that. You look at young people at this point, they're like, I can hardly pay the rent, much less think about buying a home. And that's being driven by the spending that we did in Washington, D.C. has driven that inflation.
Those young voters are going to be so important. They helped Biden win the White House in 2020. You've got a young vice presidential candidate here, 39 years old. He'll soon be 40. Does that help reach that demographic?
Yeah, that's a really good point. What we're so 18, 20, and 22 elections, young people, they went with Democrats. They went with them strongly. The abortion issue was very powerful in 2022. It may be in 2024. But what we're seeing generally is that young people are starting to go, I don't like what I've seen out of Joe Biden now either. I didn't like it prior to Joe Biden. Now I don't like this. I think they're free agents. And they're going to decide these, in part going to decide these elections. And I think it's a grand opportunity for us Republicans to go out and get out of the personality business and make sure we're talking about policy. We do these things and your life is going to be better. We have to emphasize that.
But what do you mean get out of the personality business? I mean, you had Hulk Hogan speaking tonight. I mean, come on. I mean, there's a certain personality that is trying to draw in some of the voters here. You got Kid Rock, you got, so what do you mean get out of the personality business?
Well, I mean, you see that, whether it's Bruce Springsteen on the Democrat side or whatever, you're always going to see personality-driven stuff. But we need, as candidates, and I'm hoping President Trump does that tonight, is you have to talk about policies. People want to know about the future. What about me? What does our future look like? And you must talk about the future, not the past, if you're going to win those people that are what I'm calling free agents.
Speaking of policy, we have one more question for you here. Have you had a chance to, probably look at the outline of what the GOP platform is? Obviously, that's part of what the convention is all about, is really unifying behind that platform. Do you feel good about it?
Yes, I think the platform is very good. And plus, they simplified it. This is classic Donald Trump. Rather than having this multi-page document that usually comes out of the party, he's synthesized it down to what?
About
16 issues. And I think it's much like the contract with America that was done back in 1994. It's simplified. The public can understand it.
She said it was the last question, but she doesn't know that I need to ask. Give me your top 2 fish fries up north when I win at my north up.
Oh,
up
my
north
God.
home.
Well, one of them burned down, Rob Swearingen's restaurant,
Okay.
the Elgin in Rhinelander. There's so many good ones. So right where I live out on the Willow Flowage, go to Willow Haven if you ever go out there. They do a terrific job.
And can you get me into Blink Bonnie's? Can you use your congressional poll?
Can you get me into Blink
well,
Bonnie's?
Together, we're going to have to figure out a way. Congressman Tom Tiffany, I'm glad we ran into you in the hall because you've been a fantastic guest, and we thank you for your time here on Conventional Wisdom.
Thank you so much for being here.
It's really good to join you guys.
Very nice to meet you.
We'll take a quick break, and then from my hometown of Baraboo, the CEO of this convention, Elise Dickens, is going to join us. She's going to take some bows because she's earned them.
Welcome back to Conventional Wisdom on this final day of the Republican National Convention. What a stretch this has been. What a week it's been. Every single day has seemingly gone off without a hitch. Now, we don't know what they don't tell us, but, from our perspective, from our vantage point, it has just been nothing but fantastic.
In the Navy world, when there's a submarine, and they call it hot sheeting because you get in the bunk and then I go to work. And
okay,
then,
makes
do
sense.
that.
Yeah, sure.
We're kind of doing that with our set right here. Congressman Tiffany joined us. We took a quick break, and then we are so pleased to have back on Conventional Wisdom. We had her back months ago, Elise Dickens, the CEO of this convention. You sat down and you said, I'm running on empty.
I sure am.
But you're going to make it to the final night. And how's it been going?
It's been surreal. It's been an incredible week. The team is just running around, but everyone's happy. The energy's high, and we're really excited to finish strong tonight.
This is wild. I mean, how long have you personally been preparing for, this moment tonight?
A year and a half. I've been working on this since February of 2023, which is crazy. Flew in and just got right to work. And I just can't believe this culmination of all of our hard work and planning. And it's here, and it has worked, and it's been fabulous.
When you say surreal, people usually say surreal for something they didn't picture. But you pictured what it would look like. How close is that reality to what you pictured?
It has surpassed our vision. I mean, it really came to life, and you don't know what the climate's going to be like. And at the time when we started planning, you didn't even know who the nominee was going to be. And so trying to make sure that that perfect marriage happened and that we were fully supportive of President Trump or whoever we were going to inherit, but also making sure we cared about guest experience and delegate experience. And a top priority we always said was a world-class production, and I think we've pulled it off.
This has been spectacular. We've heard that time and time again from all the delegates and the visitors to our town who are just like, your city's amazing. This whole experience has been amazing. So kudos to you and your team. You know, what happened on Saturday that had to at least derail some of your thoughts in terms of like what's going to happen now? Did that?
Well, we paused. The team was really shaken, and we were terrified about what happened and the loss of life. It was just so tragic. So we held and we waited and wanted to see what President Trump wanted, and we all stayed up waiting, and we kind of had some late night planning meetings of maybe potential contingency plans. But then first thing the next day, they said, we're not changing a thing. It's all systems go.
Part of you had to be like, are you kidding me? I have worked a year and a half for this. And of course you're worried about his safety. That goes without saying. But then you are the party planner here too. You got so many people coming into town. Look, I always brag on you because you're from my hometown of Baraboo, Wisconsin, where throwing a party means finding an empty cornfield and getting a kegger.
That's
let's
This
be honest.
is a little step up.
Yeah, this is a step up. What's been the hardest part of all of this? Is it dealing with the many egos there? Because there are a lot of big hitters here. If you're somebody in the Republican Party or the media, you are here. And a lot of that has fallen on your feet to deal with the logistics.
It's just balancing interests, honestly, and there haven't been big egos. Everyone is here and unified, and I think you can feel it. It's really not a talking point, so it's just been connecting A, B, C, D, and marrying interests. I mean, we had a meeting on the floor yesterday between the whip floor operation, the media operations team, our ticketing team, all the various entities kind of representing their constituency about how we can make sure we withheld the integrity of the floor, people are where they're supposed to be, just kind of fighting for their real estate. But it's really just been a communications thing, this massive communications effort to make sure everyone understood the plan and who was the lead for what project, and making sure, from the vendor side, the campaign side, all the elected officials that are here, everyone knows who to go to and who their point of contact is. And I think it's gone very well.
Has anything gone off the rails that we maybe haven't even noticed because you guys have gone in there and stuck the Band-Aid on real quick?
So you'll laugh. Our team has been saying there's been no dumpster fires, only little campfires.
Okay. That's all right. That's manageable.
That's right. Every day a few campfires in every little department. We're running around and solving it, and everyone's been fantastic.
Where are you tonight? Where have you been taking all this in? Because at some point, I know you're the host here and the planner here, but you've got to be able to just soak it all in too, right?
Yeah, my husband asked me that this morning, that exact question.
Are you watching it all?
Yeah, I said, I need to think about where I want to be and who I want to be with when the balloons drop. And I think it's our core team that has been working on this, and I think we'll go down to the floor and soak it all in and watch those balloons.
Okay.
Where have you been the last 3 nights?
All over the place.
Have you taken a seat anywhere and just kind of taken it in?
I have. I've had a lot of family come and want to see this, and it's been wonderful to have their support and enjoy the success with them. And some colleagues from many, many years of, all over the country, seeing them and sitting down and enjoying the show. It's been really special.
Close your eyes for a minute, rest, because we're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
Don't fall asleep.
We'll wake you up.
We're going to be right
worry.
back with Elise Dickens, CEO of the Republican National Convention, as we take a live look inside the bowl. Oh, it's empty now. It'll be full tonight, trust me.
So I think you can tell.
Welcome back to Conventional Wisdom. We are here live with the CEO of the convention. And today, of course, is day 4, the final day of the RNC. As you look live into a very empty bowl, the delegates will be coming in a couple of hours from now. We still got time. This is the last day, Elise. You've done a ton of hard work to get here. This has been your first time ever doing something like this, and you seemingly have pulled it off, unless it all goes, to what tonight. But I don't think it's going to.
Well, yeah, it is. It is. I think the key to our success is I was empowered through resources and support across the board to hire the best team. I mean, really, we have our stage designer won many Emmy Awards for his work. Our production team, storied career at NBC News. And so we really had wonderful partners and the resource and the support to do it. And that's made all the difference.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. Your staff has been great to deal with. The people here have been top-notch professional, everything. Called your assistant just yesterday and said, hey, can we get one more interview with Elise? And she's like, yeah, we'll make that happen. So we appreciate it. What are you most proud of? This is your first time, as Steph mentioned, doing something like this. What makes you say, you know what, I did a pretty good job here?
At the beginning, we sought out to make sure all of our grassroots felt that they were thanked, rewarded, and energized, and I think we've done that through guest experience. But number 2 is the everyday Americans that have been featured and their stories being told.
Powerful stories.
It's what this is about at the end of the day, is people, not the politicians. It's about the people, and I think their stories have been so compelling and beautiful, and I'm really proud that we were able to do that on this stage.
Are you ready for vacation?
Yes, absolutely.
Going back to Baraboo.
No hesitation.
All right. Hey, listen, whether the people of Baraboo are voting blue or red or independent, I know they're proud of you, and they're really proud that the woman who pulled this event off is from their hometown. So kudos to you. Hashtag T-Birds forever.
Thank you.
Get some rest. Have a fun night.
Congratulations.
Get the rest that you've been. Elise Dickens, CEO of the RNC. We're going to send it back to the studio for the rundown, right? Is that what we're doing?
Oh, yeah.
Then we come back with our delegate of the day. Well, where are they from? We'll find out.
Welcome back to Conventional Wisdom. You are looking live inside the bowl here at Fiserv Forum. And just moments before you came to us, Kid Rock was out there rocking this place. No crowd, maybe just a few cameras down there, people with their cell phones trying to get those close-up images. But, man, he had this place shaking, Ted.
And I think you'll hear him tonight, because if I'm hearing his lyrics correctly, it sounds like he's introducing the former president tonight. So,
yes.
You'll hear it. Trust me. We're glad. I mean, no offense to Kid Rock. I'm glad it stopped because we want to do a segment here where we talk. Okay, delegate of the day. And you know how we've been doing it all week? We've gone out on the plaza. We've grabbed somebody. I grabbed a guy in the hallway the other day from Texas. We had a young woman from Tennessee. This one's been in the works for a while. We're not going to lie to you. This isn't a spontaneous. Bill Huff is sitting to my right here. Bill is from the great state of Vermont. And when I started this podcast with you several months back, for some reason I picked Vermont, and I started emailing. Are you a county chair?
I am.
That's how I found you. Just emailing, hey, are you coming to Milwaukee? And Bill wrote back, and we've been corresponding since, and I've been wanting to get you on the show. So that's why you're here. You are our delegate of the day. There's no prize for that, but we have some cheese curds later if you want.
We'll give you a high five. How about that?
So anyway, Bill Huff from the great state of Vermont is our guest today.
Yeah, welcome to Milwaukee. I know you've been here for longer than a lot of the other delegates have been here because you're on a special committee that kind of had you here a little bit earlier, which has been a good thing, right?
Oh, it's been terrific. Yeah, I've been here about 10 days now. I served on the credentials committee, so it did give me an opportunity to work for a little bit on behalf of the party, but get out and see the city too and spend some time here. It's been a lot of fun.
What have you seen?
Oh, all kinds of things. We went to the Bastille celebration last Saturday.
Sure.
We jumped on a boat, took the tour down the river and out into the harbor, and then of course the big celebration Sunday night down on the waterfront.
How was that? The big welcome party, right?
It was a lot of fun.
Let's talk about that. What did that do for Unity? We had the organizer on it on this podcast on Monday. It really showed off our city. We weren't allowed in. Media wasn't allowed in. As a visitor, as a delegate, especially after the events of Saturday, how did that party set the tone?
Oh, it was a jumping off point, I think. It was the first time that as a delegation, all of the delegates got together, had a chance to meet and talk and enjoy the music. the venue, free food, free drinks. So it was a terrific fireworks. The worst thing was the weather, but I guess I can't blame that on Milwaukee. It rained. We got rained on waiting for the buses to get home.
Yeah, and it wasn't even that bad because the fireworks still went off.
Yes, that's true.
It started out hot, but this is the weather we like here. This is a perfect summer especially for a guy from the Northeast, I would imagine.
Oh, today's been terrific.
Yeah.
Oh, without a doubt. What has been your favorite part so far at the actual convention itself?
Oh, I think this.
Really?
Yeah, the media.
Look at us making up the top of the list here.
Well, there's 5 times as many media here as there are delegates.
Yep, that sounds about right.
I hit the top of the escalator my first day here and was interviewed by a press from Madrid. Yesterday, I talked to BBC out front. I was interviewed by a reporter from Amsterdam down on the floor the other day.
Wow, you really took the tour around the world.
I did a radio show that would have aired in Vermont this morning. We taped that last night, and then I was just sitting up here one day trying to just rest for a few minutes, and a reporter saw that I was a delegate, and we stopped and talked. I don't even remember where he was from, but that's been fun.
You're good behind the mic because we should point out you have your own radio show back in Vermont called Right Side Up, in which you talk about conservative politics in the state of Vermont, a state that is always going to, not always, but has been blue for most presidential elections, certainly in the last few decades.
Oh, in the last few decades, absolutely. Yeah, if you go back far enough, it was actually very conservative. Mostly native Vermonters. But the interstate system, interestingly enough, the interstate system came in about 50 years ago, and as a result, it allowed access for people from Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York to come visit Vermont, and of course they loved it when they got there, which meant they bought second homes and they moved there. And when COVID, everybody came to Vermont. So the makeup of the state has changed considerably in the last few decades.
Well, let's talk politics then, because you do that on a daily basis. Let us start with the selection of J.D. Vance. Was he your pick? What does he do for the ticket? What did you think of the speech? Take those in any order you want.
I think it was an interesting pick. It wasn't on my top 3 or 4 list.
Who was at the top of your list?
I thought it might have been Tim Scott, perhaps, but I think J.D. is an interesting pick for several reasons. Back in my day, I'm probably older than you are, Ted. Diversity used to be a good thing. You didn't get penalized for having a different opinion, and so I think he brings a lot of diversity to the ticket. We've got Donald Trump on one hand that might be considered, being born with a silver spoon in his mouth, and here we've got J.D. Vance growing up in Appalachia. The age thing is huge in this election cycle, and here we've got the opposition of Donald Trump in his 80s. And J.D. Vance, in his 40s, or just
39. He will turn 40 next month, August 2nd.
Yeah, so there's a lot of interesting things there. But I think it does bring primarily diversity to the ticket, which I think is good.
Do you think there's a lot of differences between the pick of J.D. Vance and the pick in 2016 of Mike Pence?
Good question. Yeah, I think so. Pence was an insider, more a polished politician, I think, than J.D. He's young. I think he's been on the scene fewer years than Mike Pence.
Couple years, yeah.
He did not seem unpolished last night. I'm trying to think of being 39 years old and having 2 days. I mean, you probably, when you saw yourself on the short list and you knew you were being vetted, you might start with a rough draft in your head of what I might say. If you don't want to jinx yourself. That was a speech that showed, I think, a very confident person, one who could really go off the cuff. The ad-libs were actually pretty funny when he said to the people from Ohio, cool it, we've got to win Michigan too. That got a lot of good chuckles. That was a pretty poised guy for 39 in his first real exposure to the international spotlight.
It's somebody that every common person can relate to. And that's another thing that it brings to the ticket that maybe Pence did not in 2016. The average American can relate to J.D.
Being a delegate, is this your first time being a delegate ever?
It is.
How has the experience been for you, and what made you decide to kind of throw your hat in the ring for it?
Well, I've been in the political realm of things in the state of Vermont for the last 10 years or so. As Ted mentioned, I'm the Orange County chair. So I've been active, very active the last few years. And with the presidential cycles the way it is, if I was ever going to do this, this was the year to do it. The next time around, I'll be 70, and I don't want to try to navigate around here in a walker.
Oh, come on! You look pretty agile.
So I was excited about coming here and just for the experience, more so than actually any of the candidates. I wanted to experience a national convention.
And how has it been so far?
Oh, it's been awesome. I've really enjoyed myself.
Your state is interesting because it's the only one that Nikki Haley won in the primary.
Yes.
So she was really speaking to a lot of your delegates the other night when she was kind of saying, hey, we're going here. We're all in and we got to go here. How do you think she did?
Oh, I think she did a great job, and I was pleased to see her come here and do that. You need to understand, too, though, that Vermont has an open primary system. Mm-hmm. So, yes, Nikki Haley won the state. However, there was a concerted effort on behalf of Democrats to take a Republican ballot at the primary. And they have a history of doing that in the state.
Oh, interesting.
Wisconsin
and kind of
also
taking it away from Trump. I see what you're saying.
And the same comes in if there's nobody on the Democratic side. There's no contest, right?
Which
Joe Biden was
wasn't.
going to win Wisconsin.
Right.
It's an open primary, so a lot of people could cross over. You don't even have to ask for a Republican ballot. You just take the ballot and you either vote Republican or Democrat.
Well, in Vermont, it's actually a separate piece of paper.
Oh, it's one here. So, so it's even more secretive of who might be doing that.
Yeah.
If Donald Trump doesn't win this time, okay, he'd be 2 losses, right?
Right.
Does the party have to say goodbye to him then? Do they have to say, you've been our torchbearer for 3 campaigns?
I think it may be up to President Trump himself to make that determination, but I would kind of expect so. I would think that he would probably step aside and somebody else would rise to the top.
Do you feel like the party has been really unified? Because over the last couple of years, I mean, we've seen it kind of sway one direction in terms of the unity thing, and then another direction in terms of being very not unified. Where do you think we are as of tonight?
Oh, that's one of the big themes I think that's going to come out of this particular convention is one of unity. That's why it was important to have Nikki Haley, Vivek here, that sort of thing. I think it's huge, and certainly has given us a lot of momentum out of the convention.
I will point out that during Nikki Haley's speech, Vivek was throwing footballs to the crowd has almost seemed like an intentional.
With Sean Hannity.
With Sean Hannity, almost seemed like an intentional distraction, but who knows?
Oh, Hannity's always got a football handy.
Yeah, so. Right. They were throwing out several out there cool. then. So what do you want to hear tonight?
Well, more of the same, more of the unity, certainly, but inspirational. It's important that I think all the delegates leave here energized, charged, ready to go, ready to get to work.
Are you ready to get to work?
Oh, believe me, I have never been so busy my entire life. The last few years, I've done so much in my own state, and it'll continue. I'm training candidates on Sunday. I'm a treasurer for another organization. I'll do that on Saturday at our annual meeting. And then tape the radio show Sunday night.
You're supposed to be retired.
Yeah, you're doing retirement wrong.
I am for sure.
Let me ask you this. I'm sorry. How much time left, Carrie? You said in our ear. Oh, 2 minutes. We got time for this question. There's increasing pressure on President Biden to get out, as you might have read today. Does that sort of the theme here is that we got to get rid of Joe Biden? You got to get rid of Joe Biden. That's been a running theme. If he takes himself out, does that take some of the steam away from what you've built up over the last 4 days?
Well, I don't know if it'll take the steam out, but it's certainly going to change the game. Mm-hmm. Who knows what's coming if President Biden does step aside. The Democratic convention is going to really be interesting. Who knows what's going to happen.
That'll be a classic old-time convention the way they were meant to be, right?
Fights on the floor.
Yeah, I think we're going to see that.
I mean, just knowing that you back Trump and you want to see Trump win in November, would you like to see Biden ride this thing out, or at this point do you not really care?
Well, personally, yeah. I'm so tired of seeing hearing the Democrats talk about saving democracy. Joe's their candidate. Let Joe run. I mean, they rigged the primary to make sure that President Biden was going to be their pick, and now he's their pick, and now they're bending over backwards trying to find some way to get rid of him. Democracy? Come on, Quit lecturing me about saving democracy.
You'll be on the floor tonight.
I will.
Gotcha. You taking pictures? You soak it. How are you soaking all this in?
Oh yeah, I do a lot of posts, social media. I actually hired a guy to help me with candidates do social media posts. So I've been posting a bunch of things on my Facebook page.
So
Look at you.
You're a working delegate.
Wow.
You're kind of gathering stuff for your show.
I love that.
Bill Huff, I'm glad we finally got a chance to sit down and put on the headsets together and talk. Best of luck to you, and thanks for spending some time with us live on Conventional Wisdom today.
It's been awesome. Thank you both.
You've been a great delegate of the day.
Great. Again, there's no prize.
There is no prize.